I'm Ryan Milliken from Hardway Performance, and you're listening to the Diesel Podcast.
I'm Dimitri Miller with No Zone Diesel.
This is Anthony Raines from XDP.
This is Jaron Holder from Holderdown Performance.
Corey Willis from PPEI.
I'm Drew with D&J Precision Machine.
I'm Pinky.
And you're listening to the Diesel Podcast.
Diesel Podcast.
You're listening to the Diesel Podcast.
The Diesel Podcast.
The one and only Diesel Podcast.
What is going on, Diesel Nation? Glad you guys could join us today, where we're going to talk about a 1200 horsepower 5.9 Cummins that can be driven on the street and have fun at the track. Before we jump into that build and all that went into it, we want to let you guys know that Dan's Diesel Performance has a ton of Duramax turbo kits, whether you're looking for a drop-in turbo, S300, S400 single or compound kits, even billet wheels, Y bridges, downpipes, tons of different things. Make sure that you check those out. Go to dansdieselperformance.com. If you have any questions, you can just give them a call. They're more than happy to chat with you about your build, your goals. Make sure you get there. We also want to tell you about ATS with their 68 RFEs. They've got a ton of packages. Got some new updates to it as well. So if you've got an 07.5 to current 6.7 Cummins that came with a 68 RFE, you want to run a bit more power through the truck, make sure you go to atsdiesel.com and check them out. We also want to remind you guys, keep rating us on iTunes, and in the comments section, tell us who you want to hear from, what you want to hear about. We'll make sure that we get those guests and those topics on. And you guys have done something that totally blew us away. Is on the dieselpodcast.com, we have a store with apparel, hats, t-shirts, things like that. You guys sold this out in less than a week. So I want to thank you for the support. We're going to be fully stocked here next week. So all the orders are going to be shipping out. You guys want stuff. I've gotten totally overwhelmed with guys wanting hats and different things. And we didn't anticipate being sold out as quick, but we want to thank you guys for that. All right, let's hear more about this 5.9 build from our guest and all that went into it. Dwight, it is fantastic to have you on the podcast today. How you doing?
Great, thanks. Doing well.
I'm a big fan of your truck. I've seen it for a while, and I think you have what every Cummins guy would like to have with their truck.
Yep.
Which is a ton of power and something you can drive. And I wanted you to just introduce the build to our listeners, how it started and the process you went through to get it where it is.
It started as a bone stock truck, and I put a trans in it and a tune and did some local racing with it. It ran, I think it ran like a 1320, like 820s, 830s, something right there, bone stock. And then I pulled the motor and I did a build. It took about 13 months. It's got Gorilla rods, Gorilla girdle, Hamilton cam, valve train, firing head, and all that was built by Ray Lacey out at Ray's Automotive in Culpeper, Virginia. He put together a nice piece for me, and got a set of Firepunk compound turbos on it, 63 over an 80. And for a while I had fought some transmission issues and went to Levon and got on his program with a company, and it's really been performing well.
When you did the motor build, was it something where something happened with the motor and you had to build it, or you knew you were going to take it to a power level and wanted to kind of head that off before any issues popped up?
Well, it was kind of both. I pulled the head just to get it, just get it gone through, get the valve seats checked, and I noticed that I had some scoring in the cylinder walls, which I didn't like, so I pulled the motor, and I had broken rings in cylinder 1 and I think 6.
Okay.
That's what inspired the build.
Gotcha. And then when you were looking at the compound set, did you have that debate that I think a lot of Cummins guys have, which is, do I do a single or do I do compounds? Or did you know right away I want to do compounds?
Well, I had an 03 at the time, and I had compounds on it ever. And then I switched it to a single and really went back to the compounds because you can do everything with compounds. You can drive it, you can race it, you can tow with it. I mean, it's just so universal. So that was my thought pattern on putting that together.
So you got a 6380 compound set. What kind of fuel did you throw at the truck?
Originally, it was dual fuelers, ATS dual fuelers, and 125% over nozzle. I'm sorry, injector. And then I ended up, getting the wonderful wait to start light as you drive from time to time. And put a set. Then I went ahead and bit the bullet, and I got a set of Xtreme 250% overs and Xtreme 10 mil stroker pump. And so I got that stroker pump over a stock Cummins pump. And so that's what the fuel setup is on it now. And, I got good tuning on it. Gordon at Innovative, he's really got a nice little setup in it. And, it drives well, and it performs well over my expectation. I never thought it would make 1,241 horsepower.
That's a good number.
Yeah. Yeah.
What size lift pump do you have supporting the CP3 injectors?
It's a AirDog 4G 165.
Oh wow! So it's getting the fuel there that you need to make that kind of power.
Absolutely. Yep.
With you'd mentioned earlier with transmission issues and everything like that, and I wanted to talk to you about the Golden Nugget. If you could tell us about heading up to Firepunk and what those guys did and what you feel about the transmission.
That was a great experience. It's a Comp 3, and I was there, the whole day, and I got to see their program, man. And I tell you what, that place operates like a well-oiled machine. It's, everyone's got their place to be and their thing to do, and it gets done, and it gets done well. And they feed you great when you're up there, man. So I recommend anybody that hangs out there for a little bit, you're going to get fed, and it's going to be good. But, it was great. We got the trans in it. And what was really cool was we found out what had been my gremlin, if you will, for all this time. And you would never find that issue if you didn't have a valve body machine. And we found the issue, and he showed me what the problem was, and so, he had a whole other trans waiting for me when we got there. So we did the Golden Nugget, put that in, and took it, made some street miles, backed it on the dyno, 1241, and the next day I was on my way home. It's flawless. I could tell you, I came home on a Friday or Saturday. I was at the track on Sunday. I made a Tune 1 hit. I just put on Tune 1, made a hit, and it was great. I can honestly say it was the first time I've ever been to the track where I wasn't worried about the transmission.
That Comp 3, that has the big shafts, right? The bigger output and...
Yes, input, output, the margin, intermediate.
Okay. Yes, that's the bad boy.
Yeah. Yep. It's great. I drove the truck. I live in Virginia, so this spring I went to Rudy's season opener. I drove it from here, drove it to North Carolina, made a few hits, drove it home. It was, it's great to be able to do something like that,
That's really it. I think that's kind of the sweet spot is, the trucks that are out there like in UCC and other competitions, they can make 2,500 horse or more. And that's so awesome. But being able to do what you do with your truck, where you can drive it to an event, race it, and drive it home, or take it around town or something like that, is what's so cool about this.
Yeah, I drive it to work. I get up, I go to Cars and Coffee on Sunday mornings, hit local track events. I drive it. I take the kids to school. I pick them up. I do everything with the truck, just like you would do in any other vehicle, and it drives fine. It's just a fun little piece, And I'm at that point now where, do you gut the bed and put racing seats in? And I know that, but I kind of like I like the street side of it more. You use it more on the street side than you do the racetrack side. So, I'm just at that crossroads right now.
How many miles have you put on it since you did the final kind of build with Fire Punk and everything?
Let's see, the truck's been together 3 years. I don't know, maybe I don't put a whole lot of miles on it because at the time, I had so many issues with the trans. It sat more than it drove, so, maybe 25,000 miles on it.
Gotcha.
But now that it's going more, I drive it more.
That's cool, though, to have a truck at that power level, together for 3 years, and you probably just do maintenance on it, so change the fluids and filter every now and then, and What kind of times do you cut at the track?
I've never put it on Tune 5 and raced it because I've always been nervous about breaking it or something failing. But I've raced it on Tune 4, and my best time has been a 690 on Tune 4. My best mile an hour was 104.5, almost 105 mile an hour. So it's got the mile an hour to run well in the sixes. I just need to leave one a little harder.
What platform did you use to tune it? Is it HP Tuners or? It's
EFI Live.
Oh, okay. Okay, gotcha. So it's an 06, 07.
Yep. It's crazy because, I had a pretty good platform with my 03. When a UDC first came out, I had it tuned with that. And the truck made like 800 horsepower. It was a quad cab long bed, run 1170s, and that was a daily driver. But I knew there was more to be had with tuning. Torque management was killing me. It was all kinds of things, but, and I got rid of the truck because the tuning wasn't available. I knew I wanted a 06 and I knew I wanted a single cab. So I found one. But here we are a few years later. You got HP for the 03 to 05 trucks. And who knows, maybe I would have kept it if the tuning was available. But, I got what I got, and I'm happy.
Yeah, that 06, 07, that's my favorite. That's my favorite year range, and I'm a Cummins guy, so especially the regular cabs. There's something about the regular cabs I've always loved. I do want one. They're hard to find, but
yeah. And what's crazy is I feel I got a pretty good deal on mine when I bought it. It was at least, and it could be an area thing because local to here, this DC area, things are pretty pricey and so forth. But I bought the truck. I actually flew from here in Dulles Airport. I flew to Indianapolis. Met the guy at the airport, gave him a check, and drove the truck back home the same day. And it was a pretty long day, but yeah, that's how I ended up with that truck.
I've been looking for a while, and I always find them in the Midwest. We're out here in Colorado. It's really hard to find the regular cabs. They are some, but it's just, I don't know. It's like the perfect package. Build it like your truck. Get some compounds on it, fuel, tuning, transmission, suspension, get it all dialed in, just have fun with it. I think that street side is really what I love.
Yep. And that's kind of where I started, with the 03, it was at the time, let's see when I got that 03. I got that 03 in 2010, maybe 09, some right there. But, the thing at the time was, get a Smarty. Get some exhaust, get an intake, so that's where my progression came from. And, now and of course, you back then you look in the websites and you're like, man, I want this, and this. Now I look at the websites and there's nothing I need out of them. I'm at that specialty level, so, but it's fun. And I follow the, ODSS stuff and those guys are just flying. There's something, the progression of technology that is just coming to everything is amazing. What all these guys doing in Pro Street, Pro Mod, the 590 class is coming out. And it's amazing, what these guys do, and the turnout is incredible. You have, if you look in the parking lot, it's a sea of trucks, and I was in that sea of trucks at one time, now I get to participate in this stuff. So it's, it's a progression. No one can, dig in their pocket and pull out this kind of build money. So it's, for the guys that are listening and coming up, don't get discouraged that you can't afford it right now, but they'll come.
If you were to give advice to one of those listeners, like they're in the same position, say you are with a 5.9 with a tune, exhaust, intake, and they want to build what you have, what are some things that you tell them, hey, make sure you do this, or, do this first, or just some advice you'd give them?
My best advice is, spend your money one time, It's hard to do that because I've been there. You a lot of times you can't afford the Comp 3, or, you can only put a billet input shaft in it. So I like to say spend your money one time and buy the top of the line part. That's kind of my best advice, because you don't want to go into it 2 and 3 times, and you want to buy a quality injector. You want to, and what's hard is your turbo has to match your injector. It's a combination. So you want to go too big on fuel and not enough air, or vice versa. It's because it just doesn't run right, and your tuner wants to pull his hair out trying to make what you don't have work, so.
That's a really good, that's good advice. It's something with the podcast that we hear a lot about, where guys will message in or comment, and they get into that situation where they're kind of right in between, the truck's 550, 600, they want to take it to 800. Is it best to do a billet input, billet flex plate and see what happens with the output? And it can quickly start to add up when things break, or you go back and redo it, and that $3,000, $4,000 set of injectors are now cores because you're going to this different set, and
absolutely,
it can make the build cost a lot more.
It can, and it's I guess it's easy to say, have a goal, have a horsepower goal, have a ET goal that you want to run, have a class that you want to run and build to it. And that's kind of how you got to do it, but then you get to that point and you want to go to the next step. And of course, when you go to the next step, it's a bigger converter. You got to restall the converter. You need to add bigger injectors. You need to, add more air, and it's all because you want to go faster. It's just everything has to match. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, that's key as well. And I think that's where that game plan comes in, where you have that goal from the start and you can build towards it, even if it's over a couple years, to do it. Or if it's all at once, it's all at once. And I think trusting, a shop, or a company that's going to do it. They've done it dozens, hundreds of times. They know and have seen it all.
Absolutely. And definitely go to a reputable place, That's another huge recommendation. What do they say? Good isn't cheap and cheap isn't good. Yeah,
that's true. Yeah, your truck, like I said, I've seen it for a while, and I've paid attention to it, and I have that love for regular cabs and diesel performance. And there's also another hobby that we both have, besides trucks. And every now and then I'll see some goodies that you get, and I wanted to ask you about your latest purchase and how you liked it.
I love it. It's a 300 Blackout from Diamondback, and I guess the saddest part is I haven't shot it yet. I went camping this weekend with the full intentions of getting some range time in, and I just did not manage to get that time in. It was a family trip and that whole deal, but yeah, I can't wait to go out there and try this round and try that round and see what the gun likes to shoot and sight it in. I mean, that's the fun of it for me.
Was 300 blackout, was it something you wanted so you could suppress it and do that?
I want to do that. I want to hog hunt. There's once you get on YouTube and you look at hog hunting videos and you go down that rabbit hole, it's endless. You can, it's just like a truck. You can just, I want this, I want that, and the next thing you know, you're chasing that dream.
We did a podcast last year with Vinny from Leadfoot Diesel Performance, and he was talking to us about that and how much, just what a problem it is there. And I know a lot of guys in Texas and different states, they Monday through Friday they're working on trucks and then they're out hunting in the evenings and weekends.
Yeah, I'd love to get down and go to one of those places, or I've been looking at hog hunts here recently, and so I'm just trying to get my feelers out to see what's going to be a good one to go to. But yeah, that's kind of what I want to do. And then I did buy a 5.56 upper to basically shoot with, just so you're not spending so much per round, because they're definitely 300 blackout's not your plinking round, if you will.
Right. Yeah, I know a lot of guys. I don't have a 300 blackout. I kept my eye on it, and I always like to read or watch different things. And there seems to be a debate, as far as do you use an AK platform, 7.62 by 39 to do that, or the 300 blackout, and the different platforms and stuff. And I can get lost in that.
Yeah, and the same thing. I've watched all the the guys on YouTube, and they'll set up the gel testing and the ballistic gels, and it's it's all preference.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely want to. I definitely want to do that. It looks like a good time to go out there and take care of a nuisance problem and have fun doing it.
Yeah, we'll have to get you connected with Vinny, and he's some other guys we know that love to hunt and do that, and you could take the truck on a road trip.
I wouldn't a heartbeat. Yeah, right now the truck is in a bit of a transformation. I have pulled the turbos off. I am doing am going up to a 400 base setup, and but it'll still drive fine. I'm not going too crazy. Just a 468 over probably an 85.
That brings up a question. I just thought of it. What kind of EGTs would you see with those 250% over Stroker CP3 and the 6380 compound set?
You wouldn't believe it, because I almost didn't believe it either. When we were at Rudy's on Tune 4, and it's got some fuel on that tune. It was 1645 was my hottest EGT I seen that weekend.
Wow.
That was it. It was happy, I consider that happy. I've seen when I was having converter issues, I was seeing 1800, because you wasn't loading the motor down, and they were up there. So it, to me, 1650 is nothing. I was happy with that.
Yeah, I was just gonna say they have that 2,000 degree EGT gauge for a reason.
Yeah. Yeah. I have no issue running 16, 1700, 1800. But yeah, I was pretty impressed with it. 1645 is what I recorded on my high EGT.
I definitely want to get your feedback after you get the different charger set on what you think compared to the older set, and maybe how it changes a little bit, or what the truck can do. So we'll have to revisit that once you get them back together.
Yeah, and I think I may have to restall the converter, but we'll see how it acts. It's like a 1900 stall right now, so I may have to just bump it up to like a stock stall, and but it still drives fine. I've had it several different stall speeds in the in that other combination there, and The tighter stall is really good for what I got right now. So I think I just probably have to restall it. No big deal.
Yeah, that'll be quick and easy. And
yeah, I'm gonna go back up. I'm gonna go back up and get Levon to do it so I can go eat.
I might have to go visit to partake in some of this cuisine that I'm hearing about.
Oh yeah, oh it's amazing. Yeah, them guys know how to eat.
Well, I really appreciate your time today, Dwight. It's your build is what most 5.9 guys want, and there's so much information out there. It's hard to know. Do I do it this way? Do I do it that way? Well, you already went through it. It's your truck. You've had it for a while, so the insights you have are great. Yeah, I mean, I remember when I first got my 03, and I used to go to these truck races, and I'd see I'm running 14s, and I would see a truck blast off a 12, and I'm like, man, I want to be that guy one day, and that's just how I got going, and I tell you, man, I was almost Charlie Keeter happy when I broke into the 11s with the 03. I don't know if you ever seen Charlie Keeter's when he first broke into the 10s. Yeah.
Boy, but he couldn't hardly stay in the cab. He was so happy. But yep.
Yeah, it tends to happen. You get that goal where it's like, I just want to be in the 13s, and then you get in the 13s, you're like, I want to get in the 12s, and then you're knocking on the door of the 11s, I want to get in the 11s, and then it's...
And that's what it is, and I know once, in my truck, I haven't been a 10 in my truck. I know it'll go 10s all day long. But it'll I just because I haven't been quarter mile with it yet, but I know a 690 is a 10-second pass all day long, especially with the mile an hour it's running, I think Levon was saying in their white truck, their quad cab truck, that truck runs 670 class and they run 105. That's their mile an hour. So I know it's got it. I just got to leave on it. And I'm running this thing on like street tires. I'm not even, I don't even have any drag radials or anything for it yet. So, matter of fact, I don't even have traction bars in the truck yet.
Really?
Yeah, I've been a 64 with it, 60-foot time.
Wow.
Yeah, so, I got some goodies to buy, but we're getting there.
Well, definitely let us know when you get the new compound set on what you think, and we'll have you come back on and tell our listeners, kind of do a comparison between the two sets, what you like, what's different, all that stuff.
Absolutely.
Awesome, Dwight. Well, thanks again for joining us today, and keep us updated.
I sure will.
Don't forget, guys, make sure and check out dansdieselperformance.com if you're looking for Duramax turbos, anything from a drop-in to a compound kit. Those guys got it. And check out ATS Diesel, transmissions, fueling upgrades, tons of different products they have. We've been hearing from a lot of 6.7 Cummins owners that they want to crank up the power on their truck now. They got a 68 RFE in it. What are the options? Those guys got a ton of them with the longest warranty out there on a built 68 RFE. Just go to atsdiesel.com. You can see everything. All right, guys. Till next time, keep the shiny side up.